The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got ourselves an unbelievable program this week. Viewers and listeners, great stories, great guests, great people to chat with. Producer Lauren put together a magnificent video summarizing our time at the Miami Music Tech Conference last month, and we're going to see that, and it's going to be a nice piece of a flashback for me, just that awesome time that producer Lauren and I had hanging out at Miami Music Tech, and we're excited to bring some of that experience to you and learn some of the insights that we learned along the way. So that's going to be great. We're going to do that later in the show. Also have a fantastic guest coming up in the second segment. We're going to be joined by recording artist Nikki Richards. She is phenomenal and is going to have a great deal of incredible stories for us to tell. She's seen it all, man, and has performed with some of the biggest names in music and has done some incredible things. And I know it's going to equate to lots of great stories. And most importantly for you all as viewers and listeners, lots of great advice to share with all of you. So stick around for that. That's going to be a blast. Let's go ahead and bring in our co-host this week. We are joined by Katie Zaccardi. Hi, Katie. And Katie is muted. Can we do something about that? There she is.
Hello, I am here, I swear.
How are you? I'm thrilled to be chatting with you.
I'll tell you one thing is that I've had tech issues all day, so why not wrap it up with me being muted at the start of the podcast, you know?
From what I've been told, given the circumstances, I think you are allowed to have whatever tech problems you want this week, because from what you told me, at any moment, a tornado can come and just blow the roof off of your place.
Well, that may or may not be an exaggeration, but
Because
yeah.
Nashville's going through it right now. Y'all got like a tornado warning.
Yeah, we were up, like ask anyone in Nashville, they were up at 2:30 on the dot last night. And a lot of us, unless people slept through it, which honestly, kudos to them. I was up until 4:30. So I was on and off, like in the stairwell with my dog, but even not just keeping up with the weather, because there was just like watch after warning after watch after watch. Warning is like, hey, there might be tornadoes, but then when we get watches, it's like the siren goes off and there is like an actual tornado somewhere.
Producer Lauren saying we might have the terms mixed up. I think like warning is the worst one. At least it is with hurricanes here in South Florida.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remind myself by saying watch the news during a watch, and in the warning go into action.
You know what's funny is I actually saw a TikTok of somebody being like, how can I keep them straight? And half the comments were like, I don't know, just remember, like you're an adult. But but number one, here we are all confusing it because it's confusing. Number two, somebody actually said warning is a longer word, so AKA it's worse. And that's what I'm remembering right now. So shout
longer
out to that
words
person.
are worse.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we should be in the clear. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Last night was brutal. It is still raining. It is still storming. We are still, I think, issued a watch right now, but no sirens or anything like that. So,
well, speaking of things that we're watching, Katie, we are, all of us who are checking this out on volume.com or Twitch or any of the places where you can check this show as a visual program, cannot take our collective eyes off of your sweater. As our loyal viewers and listeners of the show know, you have been in this extended foray into knitting. You have made knitting a part of your personality. And every time we've had you on the program, Katie, we have seen the knitting grow. Like it was like a little piece of fabric 2 months ago. Last month you had like this neck scarf thing. And it looks like this week you have graduated to full on knitted sweater.
Yep. My sweater is complete. I do still have to block it, which basically means I have to wash it and then I can kind of stretch it out and like it'll loosen up a little bit and wear better. I don't know how to do that yet, so I will be figuring that out imminently. But yeah, this is my sweater. And I think I'm allergic to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, here it is. Voila. Voila. It is, of course, 75 degrees in Nashville, and the sweater is made of wool and alpaca. So it is horrible timing for me to have finished this. And again, I am allergic to the fabric.
Hi, I'm Katie Zaccardi. I make things that slowly kill me.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes I forget that I'm like allergic to dogs and horses and cats and basically everything. And then I'm like, yeah, no problem. Wool and alpaca, no problem. I don't see what could go wrong. And then I'm like,
we are also in the second episode in a row of Katie Zaccardi knitting things that for some reason are really tricking the hell out of her camera and making things look the way they don't actually look. So anybody who is viewing this episode right now, pop quiz, what color is Katie's sweater? We're getting back 100% green. But believe me when I tell you, not only is it not green, it is not even close to green. It is a very royal blue. And to prove this, producer Lauren, do you have the actual, like you have a photograph that Katie took separately, and can you put that up so we can actually see what this thing really looks like? I think, yeah. Yeah. See, that's what the sweater looks like. How in the hell is it that green on your camera, but is actually that blue in reality?
I have no idea. Although I will say that I am seeing some comments that are saying it's blue.
Yeah, but that's just because the commenters hate me and are trying to gaslight me.
Okay.
Everybody knows the people who listen to this show just want me to be upset.
Watching last time.
Oh yeah, maybe. Or maybe you're wrong and it's just blue because it is blue.
Yeah, this is quite literally gaslighting. This is
It's
nuts.
crazy. It is crazy to me how different it's appearing. Like it's giving like
It's so wild.
white or blue or gold and white or blue and whatever the dress, what color is the dress?
It's yeah, that was like a really fun 3 weeks in the internet. But you can't ruin my good mood here, Katie, because every once in a while in the entertainment industry, we get a moment where a copyright holder gets vindicated, and there is a brief moment of justice where a frivolous copyright lawsuit dies. And as you know, Katie, you've known me long enough to know that I have a very strong hatred toward frivolous copyright cases where people just file these copyright lawsuits to try to make a buck. And the lawsuits are nonsense, but usually the copyright owners get bullied into a settlement. Ed Sheeran ran into one of these. It was like a big piece of news. It went all the way to trial. And about 18 months ago on this show, we reported about a copyright case involving Mariah Carey and this artist named Vince Vance from the 70s or 80s, from a bit of time ago. And basically what this lawsuit was alleging, and he sued her for $20 million, by the way, was alleging that her massive hit song that we all love, All I Want for Christmas Is You, infringed on Vince Vance's song, also called All I Want for Christmas Is You, which came out a few years before Mariah's song did. And I encourage our viewers and listeners, listen to both songs, and I think you will agree that the only two things that these songs have in common is literally the title. Other than that, no melodic similarity, pretty much no lyrical similarity, except the word Christmas is in both of them. It is the very notion of a frivolous lawsuit. And I even remember saying on the show back in November of 2023, I specifically said, I would really love to get Vince Vance's attorney on this program so I can just kind of, ask him as kindly and professionally as possible, how do you sleep at night? And apparently, I'm not the only one who feels that way, because it came out late last month, I just read this, that not only did Vince Vance's lawsuit go down on summary judgment, a judge dismissed the case before it could even get to a jury. It was so ridiculous.
Nice.
But the judge also took the extra rare step of sanctioning Vince Vance's attorney, saying, you should have never brought this case. You didn't do the proper evidentiary investigation to show that this case held any water. And that attorney, that attorney could get in trouble, and Vince Vance might wind up having to pay Mariah Carey's attorney's fees because of how ridiculous this case is. So it's a little thing I like to call justice. Justice for copyright holders and for a national treasure that is Mariah Carey.
That is honestly iconic on behalf of Mariah Carey. She literally did nothing. And this person who was trying to take advantage of her clearly is now karma. I think it's important though, because I mean, you and I have had so many conversations, especially about Olivia Rodrigo, to name several conversations under that umbrella, of how ridiculous it is in some instances of people just really being nitpicky and slippery slopes. And so I feel like it is important, because we were going down a slippery slope for a second there. I feel like there was a couple year period where it was like, oh, right, like everyone's being greedy, or like with Olivia even giving credits to people who I still feel strongly she should not have had to give credits to. Like, it was a lot of like cautionary actions, and I feel like that can get really out of hand. It could have gotten really out of hand. So I almost like this as a way to be like, okay, guys, come on. We're not going to be super crazy with this. We have to be actually realistic about what's going on here.
I have been struggling to sort of find out, to try to figure out like, what is the solution to this? Because basically, as you noted, Katie, ever since the blurred lines verdict, and some of these lawsuits, and like, Sam Smith giving Tom Petty co-writer credit on Stay With Me, we've seen over and over like people being very risk averse to copyright infringement suits because the legal penalties can be so significant. And I didn't have the solution. I don't know how we fix it in the law. And maybe this is one of the ways we fix it, is we, get the attorneys in trouble. Like maybe we got to start smacking around lawyers a little bit, figuratively, of course, who have the audacity to bring these claims without doing some amount of, due diligence. And by, due diligence, I don't mean like, a deep, having to hire musicologists to figure out the level of similarity, but how about just listen to both songs? Yeah. And be like, these don't sound the same at all. What are we doing?
There are literal standards that have been set. Like, use that. Go on Spotify. See how many songs have the same title. Yeah. All of them. So gosh. I think, I do wonder if maybe this guy just wanted attention, like he just wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and they don't actually care about the lawsuit going anywhere, but they're in the news now, so woohoo. But I can't help but think, some people say no press is bad press, but I don't know. Trying to like sue for something so obscene and ridiculous, like I don't know how that would really benefit someone, even if it was a PR move,
I would hate to think that like that's what's driving this, because it's very troubling every time it happens. And I don't want, like, it's fine when it's Mariah Carey, right? She can afford an army of lawyers to defend it, and she brushes this off like it's nothing. But for up and coming artists who don't have the unlimited legal budget, who don't have the army of very highly paid lawyers, I don't want those people having to look over their shoulder, because it does hurt creativity. And it's just, it's just not what we want this industry to become. Like, I've never talked to anybody who's like, yeah, this is what we want. This is a good state of affairs. But I want to bring us to another story, Katie, that I wanted to get your perspective on, because another kind of struggle that I think modern musicians are having is on the touring side of the ledger. We've done a lot of stories recently where basically we've talked about how it's harder than ever for indie artists to tour. It's more expensive to put tours on. The venues don't pay the same that they used to. With COVID and post-COVID stuff, it's harder to find venues to play at. And, a lot of artists are feeling the cost crunch. It's hard to make the numbers work when you go on tour as an indie artist. And I've been struggling to find solutions in this area. But I was pretty intrigued by a recent article in Hypebot that did talk about one group's solution to this problem. And it was referred to as the One Night Live Tour. I got to tell you about this tour, Katie. It's pretty interesting. It kicks off May 16th, actually in Miami at a wonderful venue called Gramps. A very, very cool venue in Miami. Love checking out artists there. But basically what One Night Live is it's 3 singer-songwriters. It's Ellie Williams, Sophia LaFuente, and Farayi Malek. They're going to do a 3-week East Coast, South, and Midwest tour, and they're going to play at a bunch of locally owned indie venues. They're basically focusing on local indie venues so that those venues can, get great artists and create a cool experience. But what makes the tour interesting in terms of helping artists kind of save money on costs, and this could be replicated by other artists, is each of the 3 artists plays their own set, but then when they're not doing their set, they back up the other 2 artists musically each night. So they're kind of doing like a rotation thing, but by basically being each other's backing band while the other person performs, they're cutting down on travel and personnel costs. You need fewer people. And they bring in, as their openers, they always find an artist that's local. And so they can highlight local artists at the same time. And then supporting this, these 3 artists are a group of nonprofits, including the Live Music Society, Salt Lake Incubator, and Detour, that are providing financial support, routing, marketing, and artist development for these artists. But you put all this together, this seems to me, Katie, like a really cool way to create like a sustainable touring model that keeps your costs down, that allows you to be more nimble. And by the way, if you're an indie artist who maybe wants to go on tour but doesn't have the set list to carry a full show, it's great to be able to divide the load between you and 2 other artists. And, to me, this just seems like a winning idea, and I'd love to see this replicated more.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And we actually have one of our loyal listeners saying, oh, indie musicians do this all the time. So, and he's probably right. Like, I feel like it's really just highlighting collaboration that used to at least happen way more naturally. I think there was a period of time where indie artists got a little bit more like individual, if you will. But I'd like to see us going back to more of a community feel where people are sort of banding together and supporting each other and collaborating with each other. The only thing is, I feel like, number one, is it all acoustic? This is the question I have. Because otherwise, how can you do this if you don't play multiple instruments? If you're acting as the backing band or supporting the, main person during their set. Did they explain that in the article? Because I didn't catch it, but I am curious about that.
Well, certainly, I think for certain kinds of artists and certain genres of music, this works better, right? So if you're going to tour this way, it probably works better when you have artists that don't require a great deal of backing band. If you have an extensive back line, if you have like your own band and that band has to play tight together, it's probably going to be less effective than if you're just 3 singer-songwriters and you can easily play each other's music.
Yeah.
If you work with a venue's local backline to kind of fill in the gaps, that can also help. And for those who think like, this isn't new, no, that part of it is not necessarily new. Although I do feel like in the last few years, we have distanced ourselves from collaborating as musicians, and we are still all trying to go our own way a lot more. So yeah, 100%. Maybe we do need to do what we used to do by actually touring together. But I think what also makes this model innovative is the partnership with the nonprofit organizations that are giving these artists additional support, that are, helping make the tours happen, that are helping with the logistics, that are helping with the promotion so that these artists aren't alone. So you get the efficiencies of working multiple artists together with the strength of nonprofit support. That sounds like a sustainable, effective way to get indie musicians touring again.
I completely agree. And I think that asking for help or in that type of way, like asking for sponsors essentially, is not something that a lot of musicians think of. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity out there. Sometimes we talk about crowdfunding where it's like put a Kickstarter up there and ask a lot of people to help fund stuff. But there are a lot of people out there with money. There are nonprofits out there with money who they have grants and they're specific purpose is to help people like you, right? So I really love the idea of partnering with organizations or even just partnering with like investors who want to invest in the arts. And I think the more creative we can get by doing something like this, by saying, okay, I'm going to go on tour, but it costs money. It costs a lot of money to go on tour. So how can I lower those costs? Well, I can basically get a sponsor of sorts and then, of course, add in the collaboration part. It's really savvy of them. It's really smart. And I think that there's a lot of little bits and pieces that musicians can learn from this, even if that whole picture isn't something that everyone can do. There's still a lot of bits and pieces we can take from it.
And I love the idea of the local opener as well, because I feel like this model, what this organization is doing, actually it creates like this own kind of pipeline and ecosystem that's being done through One Night Live, where right now you have these 3 artists and they're going to tour the country, but the local artists get to open so that, you know, this organization and this consortium of nonprofits get to identify that artist. And if that artist crushes it at the local venue, that's somebody that group might be able to pick up and put in a new tour. And so it's a way for not only the indie artists to be able to tour the country, but it's also a way for local artists who have never toured to get their foot in the door and possibly create opportunities for them to tour where they wouldn't otherwise be able to tour. Oh, and we should also mention this is huge for the local venues who would often have a lot of trouble getting artists like this or being able to put on events like this because maybe they don't have the existing backline. Maybe they don't have the resources to find the local opener or give that local opener a platform. So it's a win-win for a lot of the stakeholders involved. And so I'd love to see this proliferate.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it goes and sort of what the end result is. I think that, you know, it's obviously been 5 years since the start of the pandemic, but it's really been interesting to see how much the music industry has changed, going from everyone having to stop gigs to slowly coming back. Like, I just noticed that everyone is chronically online, and that's not always a bad thing. There's so many opportunities online, but we kind of lost, I think, in a lot of ways, the just innate connection that can happen in person. And like, honestly, I think a lot of people stopped getting creative about these kinds of things and figuring out ways to tour or even going on tour as it is, and connecting with people in person. So I love that this does that. And I love that this is also giving artists an opportunity or giving people an opportunity to sort of like think outside the box a little bit. And I want to see musicians who are doing local gigs and touring gigs get paid what they deserve. So I hope that this is one way that we can start to emulate that a little bit better in the industry.
And selfishly, I like the idea of artists like this getting to play in Miami, a city that has historically been very, very, very bad at helping early career indie musicians get their careers off the ground. Because if you are a big, big star, Miami's a great place for you. If you're trying to cut your teeth, this city is not very hospitable because we don't have a lot of small venues. We're not great with mid-size.
Yeah.
Basically, Miami is just come to us when you're a big star. But until then, like, get the hell out because we don't have the infrastructure to support you. So I love the idea of Miami getting to be part of this. And maybe we can actually become a place where indie artists can get off the ground.
You should open a music venue, Ryan.
Oh my God, in Miami? That sounds like a way to make a small fortune. And by which I mean you will invest a big fortune into that venue in Miami and it will become a small fortune.
Well, maybe if it exists, the people will come. I'm just going to peer pressure you on this.
Oh my gosh. You just might. All right. Let's take a break. We'll bring Nikki Richards in. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business.
Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Katie Zaccardi, just having an absolute grand old time. We are going to talk a little bit about the Miami Music Tech Conference. We're going to save that for the end of the show. We have a whole video that producer Lauren put together that's going to provide some of the highlights of our time there. Again, I want to thank Brian Zisk and Shoshana Zisk for giving us the opportunity to attend that conference last month. It was awesome. We learned a lot. We got to do some great connections, and we got to make some great content that while we were there, which we're going to share with everybody. That's going to be awesome. Until then, let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week. She is a New York-based singer, songwriter, and producer who has performed with top artists including Madonna, Mariah Carey, Mick Jagger, and more. Her new single, Tether Me, is available now, and you can find out more about our guest's work by visiting NikkiRichards.com. We are happy to welcome Nikki Richards on to Break the Business. Hi, Nikki.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing so well.
Great.
That roster of artists you have played with, which, by the way, only scratches the surface. I left out a ton of equally impressive names, is pretty awesome to me. Who is the person that you have performed with that was your biggest pinch me, how did I get here moment?
I'm going to say the corny answer. They're all like that for different reasons.
Come on.
Okay.
I love all my famous children equally.
That's like asking you what your favorite song is. Can we narrow it down to genre? Can we narrow, you know what I mean? Can we narrow it down to, so for the tours where it's been cushy and glamorous, you know, there are certain artists for that. For the artists I've worked with where I feel like it was a beautiful exchange of respect and collaboration, that, you know, that's some of the most generous and kindest people energetically are people like James Taylor. Linda Ronstadt, who was, you know what I mean? It depends on what, I can talk about all different facets, all different aspects.
But if you're going to give us the waffly answer, I'm going to ask you a lot tougher questions then.
Come on.
Who was the biggest jerk? Who's the one you'd never want to work with again?
And here's the thing about that is, again, you're not going to like my answer, but this is the truth. And
they're all jerks.
You'll get to know me, that I'm attracting a certain kind of thing. So
I was just going to say, like, do you think that Nikki would put her energy with, like, around a jerk? Like, no,
Katie,
she's not giving off that energy.
there's just, the queen is going to work with people who we respect each other. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And I've been really fortunate to work with amazing artists. Are all artists equal? In other words, I will say that we are all human and insecure and struggling with things. And if you have the pressure of your name being up on the marquee, that's heavy stuff. So, and fame and money can amplify personalities, I always like to say. So are there varying degrees of that? Yeah, but the great thing about me is I'm a pro, and I have an understanding about it. That there is a way that I get it. So my thing is, I don't even say yes unless I'm agreeing to support what that is. And when it comes to my own career, it's the same thing. My name is on the marquee, and I'm pressured, and I get cranky sometimes, and I'm trying to remember that there's a trickle down theory here. It all stems from me if I'm the artist, and I want to make sure the world around me stays supporting me and that they stay loyal. And it's energy exchange. It's always energy exchange.
That's completely fair. And you haven't just
perform with stars. You are a star. In fact, you're literally a star that was successfully searched for because you won Star Search. Katie,
I
do you like? I mean, I don't know if I'm aging myself with this, Katie.
You're
a little
aging
bit
us all
younger.
right
Do you
now,
know
Ryan.
what Star Search is, Katie Zaccardi?
No.
Stop it!
Okay.
No. Okay.
No, I think I have like heard of it before,
yeah.
but I for sure have never watched it ever.
Okay.
It's a
So
competition show like a la American
American
Idol or
Idol.
The Voice or America's Got Talent.
it was the American Idol of its time, hosted by Ed McMahon. And you're going to tell me you don't know who he was either. But here's what you need to know about Star Search and Nikki Richards, Katie. Nikki Richards won Star Search. She won the show. I don't know if like am I kind of putting you on blast to tell Katie how much money you won in the grand prize? Because
Yeah, but let's talk about the reality of it too.
oh, okay. Well, all right. So then we will talk about it. All right. So she won, Katie, $100,000 on Star Search.
Okay.
In
That is the
in
cash
1989, which in 2025 dollars is $10 trillion. As we know.
But let's talk about what the take home pay was after tax.
I would love. Yes, please give us.
You get what I'm saying? There's a
Yeah.
reality to that too.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
I mean, that it didn't stink. You
not
it was a
nothing.
beautiful way to start a
Well,
career.
for the record, do you know who? Here's a nice piece of trivia to let you know how awesome Nikki Richards is. Do you know who didn't win Star Search? Who was on that show, Katie?
You.
Beyonce. Beyonce on Star Search did not win Star Search. Nikki
Okay.
Richards on Star Search won.
Okay,
Wow.
I have to do the character thing again because it's so important to me. And I'm sorry, I gotta say. So I didn't want to do. I had networked as a kid. I was a teenager. Networked and found a manager, a woman who was hungry and got me opportunities. And she's like, "I got you this opportunity to go on television and do this show." And I was like, "Great, what is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's a show called Star Search and it's a competition." And I was like, "I can't do it."
Really?
To me, the idea of judgment and competitiveness and all those are the things that hurt me as a kid coming up. I wanted no parts of it. So I said to her, the only way I could even imagine, breaking my integrity rules for this is if you can get me at least on one show where I can play my own songs. Okay, I'm 18, 19 years old, and I'm asking her to ask a television network to change it had never been done before. This chick got it done. And I went on that show a total of 8 times, 5 of them with my own original music.
Heck yeah.
And I'm sure that made you
Yeah.
stand out like way beyond everyone
I mean,
else just
you
because
know.
you were owning your self,
And
And-
it led to a major label bidding war and a deal on Atlantic Records.
Yeah.
by
Well,
Ahmet Ertegun.
you went from Star Search to getting discovered by Ahmet Ertegun,
Ahmet.
the founder, who, by the way, also discovered Ray Charles.
Led Ze-
And-
he said to me, he says, "I signed Led Zeppelin, I signed Aretha Franklin, now I'm signing you." No pressure. No pressure at all.
Jesus.
Yeah. I'm at this huge table,
Oh my
it's crazy.
I mean, can you take us to like those years, like when you're across the table from him, when you realize like I'm gonna get signed to Atlantic? Oh my God, this is
That
on
was
Star
the
Search.
exciting part, but then again, the reality part has to
Yeah.
come. So we know that this industry. There is the glitz and the glamour and the glory, and then there's also the stuff that's less glamorous and really tough, right? So signed by Ahmet, but he wasn't my day-to-day person. I had to be taken care of by an A&R person who didn't have the same vision at that time that Ahmet did about me. So it was challenging, but we got. So when you say what were those years like, they were challenging. They were great. Looking back now, I can say, oh, it's great to have even the opportunity to even do any of this. I had my 15 minutes, doing the major label thing, but when that was done, 15 minutes is over. Now I'm still a soldier out here in the music industry, and still I just make music. So now what's the next move? And that's when the real journey started.
By the way, if you're looking for a place to comment on your underwhelming major label experience, this is the safe space for that. Little something you need to know about Break the Business. We love dumping all over that particular sector of the music industry. And it
Cautionary
sounds
tales, I
like
got.
from the way that you're communicating to me, like when I hear you talk about like going your own way as an artist, I see your eyes light up. Like, what does it mean for you to be your own voice,
Are
to
you
be more
kidding me?
independent?
Come on. It's like there are so many ways to do your thing, and how we define success in the industry, it's such an individual thing. It used to be when I was coming up that there was only one way to do it. You had to sell your soul to a major label, and there was somebody curating and taking, managing everything, handling everything and dictating you kind of what's happening. These days, there's so many ways. There's still that, what I call the 1% kind of major label thing. And then, playing in your bathroom for yourself, and then there's every other kind of way to do it in between. We know of artists who are independent, who are selling out Madison Square Garden night after night. That actually happens, not often, but there's so many ways to do it. For me, success is being able now to create my art and do it on my own terms and not have somebody tell me what I can and cannot do. I love crossing genres and I make a mess of all of the things that people told me I couldn't do because I can. And if I can find my 10 people that are digging it with me, I win. I'm a success. You know what I mean? And make a living on it. Yeah.
And sometimes it's crossing genres. Sometimes it's going from like one form of media to another. I know you've also done some acting. You were in one of my favorite all-time movies. And without even asking Katie about this, I can assume it's one of her all-time favorites as well. Chicago.
I sang the soundtrack of that.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were in the ensemble.
But we spent... It was one of the greatest experiences of my life working with Rob Marshall and getting all of creating the sound track for that.
Oh, can you tell us? Like, I've always been very curious about how the process comes together for something like that. Anything you can lend us to give us like an inside perspective on this? I mean, I love this movie, so
yeah.
I've always my dream. By the way, I'll just share this on the show here. Is how like when Chicago's on Broadway, right?
Yes.
They love doing stunt casting with that show. Like they had Eddie George, the football player, playing Billy Flynn. They brought in like, people, like just regular actresses who are not professional singers to play like Roxy Hart for 2 weeks or something like that. My goal in life is I want to get famous enough that Chicago on Broadway will let me stunt cast as like Billy Flynn for a week.
Honestly, same.
That's, I mean, yes, Katie Zaccardi will be in the front row for that. She will want to see that. Like, I'm already a lawyer. I live the role.
I want to be Roxy while you're in it. We can dual stunt cast.
And Nikki is going to be Velma. We got ourselves a show here.
I'm in.
She's going to carry us, Katie, by the way.
You can hear me in there, you had it coming. We're all up in there. We're singing our guts out, take after take to get it right.
Yeah.
Because it was all about the feeling of the thing. It was brilliant. He's such an amazing human being, Rob Marshall, who directed it. It was just incredible.
That makes me happy to hear that he's as amazing as he is in my head.
Beautiful, huge personality, knows exactly what he wants. And it was, we couldn't do enough for him to make this vision come to life. It was magic.
Now, you talked about bending genres or combining genres.
Yeah.
Talk about that and what you do with your music there. Like, what's some of the like multi-genre experimentation you're doing?
So my dad just happened, he was a high-ranking military officer who raised Catholic in New Orleans. Okay, so we're moving around all over the country every couple of years. So, the Catholic thing, there was a classical music element that I heard all of the time. My friends were, in the sandbox, were from every country in the world, just all kinds of people I'm meeting. This friend is Filipino, and this friend is speaking these languages and eating this food. And these were my friends. So I'm getting exposed to all this. Plus, my parents were amazing at making sure that I heard every kind of music that there was at the time. The record player, the tape players, they were playing Take Five by Brubeck, followed by Taj Mahal, followed by Ahmad Jamal, followed by Handel's Messiah, and they were all just one soundtrack. It's like they were just music. I knew every note of every one of them. And I would get things like Ahmad Jamal and Taj Mahal confused because their last names ended with AL. Two completely different genres. But I didn't know. I didn't care. It was just music that I loved. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, nerdy kid moving around. Mom's side of the family was the gospel church and all of that. So my grandmother was a musical director of like 5 different gospel churches and played piano. So I'm getting all of this stuff. So I could also, because I'm moving around, I'm a new kid. So I've developed what I call an extra limb to save me and keep me okay with music. And some kind of way, as we go along, we get the message. You're supposed to do one thing. You got to find one thing that you do. And that just wasn't, I could do it, all kinds of things. And I was good at it. And so that's how come I can sing in any genre, in any language. That's why I get called to work in all of that stuff.
Yeah, see, that tells me you got to get as far away from the major labels as possible. 'Cause I can only imagine the conversations you're having at Atlantic Records where you're telling these people, I want to do multiple genres on this album. I want to combine these 2 genres together. And they're like, no, this is major labels in the 90s. Get in the box and stay in the box.
And you got to understand that that's what that animal is. Yep. And if you know it and respect it, I can't be mad at that. That's what they wanted. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know that at the time. Now it's like, oh, yeah, of course, do you. And let's find a way for me to do me, which is find the artists, the audience that listens to the same music I listen to. I love Prince, and I love Stevie Wonder, and I love Paul McCartney, and I love George Duke. These are artists that had every kind of genre in their artistry. They weren't. None of them are limited. Paul McCartney, he could do anything. He wrote every day, prolific. I want to be like that. I want to be like Prince. Why wouldn't I?
And being an indie artist certainly gives you that amount of freedom to be able to explore your art the way you want to. But it also comes with challenge, right?
Yes.
It's certainly a lot of hard work, and you are often, you're doing acrobatics without a net. What has kept you moving forward? What has allowed you to stay resilient and keep you working hard?
I try not to get bitter about the fact that, I have had the taste of the Atlantic, the major label thing where there's, floors and departments of things. There's a whole art department, and then there's the marketing and the promotion, and now there's one person doing all of that. And in my mom and pop shop, it's all just me, and that's the challenge. But I think, luckily for me, it's challenging because I get overwhelmed, but for the most part, I really have fun. I love, of course, my favorite thing is what I really all do it for, the stuff nobody pays me for, which is creating music and being part of productions and creating all of the froth and interacting with people. Social media to me is a dream because I get to connect. Is it work? Sure, but I don't care.
So social media doesn't bog you down? You're not one of those artists who's like, oh God, I hate having to post things.
Adore it. Can't do it enough. Yeah.
Really?
I love it. I love it.
You are a rare bird with that.
All I'm
most
doing
of the artists
is
see it as
geeking
necessary
out.
evil.
I'm nerding out. I'm showing you what I have I guess it's subjective. I love my life. I love, that I'm listening to goofy stuff. I love that I'm going to the studio every day. Maybe like I said, let me find my 5 people that are share that interest.
I mean, Katie, am I the only one who's blown away by her answer there? Like, between you and me, we've done like 3 Instagram posts in 3 years. Like,
I'm having a
Hey,
ball.
I'm back on TikTok now, and I'm going to become a knitting influencer. But I know this is
so proud of you.
this is what if I may, I feel like I'm getting a takeaway from you that I like want to articulate to the audience, which is this, because I've worked with so many artists who don't feel that way about social media. And I think it's because they feel like they have to fit themselves into the social media box. And what you've said, both with social media and with the label, is like, okay, you work with a label, that's their box. You can choose if it jives with you, great. It's a good match. If it doesn't, you have to find something else.
Yeah.
Well, similarly with social media, like people think there's a box, but I would argue that there is not a box in social media. However, everyone or a lot of people think that they have to show up a certain way in order to be successful on social media. Whereas what you're doing is just creating your own space based on what you want to say and what you want to talk about. And therefore, you're not feeling this like stuck, stressful energy. And so to me, the lesson there is like, number one, know what kind of artist you are, know what your boundaries are, know what your energy is, who you want to surround yourself with, what your energetic limits are. And number two, when it comes to social media specifically, like you don't have to fit a mold. You don't have to copy someone else who's been successful on socials and try to emulate them or their personality. If you just honor who you are and what you want to create, that will make things not extremely frustrating for you to be on socials. And I would argue will probably yield better successes.
I will add to that I am by no means, I don't have anything figured out really well. So what I mean is I'm just doing what I dig. I'm sure that there are people who know how to do it in a way that is that could maximize,
Sure.
the outreach. And again, I'm sure that's great, and I probably need some of that. But I'm just like I said, I'm creating my art. I'm just having fun with it, and for what it's worth, it's got to be value in that, right?
Even working with experts who can do the strategy stuff, like if you are inauthentic, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
and so you have to
nobody's going to ever
lead with
accuse
that.
me
You
of
have to
that.
lead with that authenticity and with that fun, honestly. Because if it's not fun, like why are we doing it? Seriously.
Have some fun. Have fun with it.
And part of the art that you're making in on this journey is, I believe you're working on a double album right now. I didn't even know that like double albums were still a thing. Like it's hard enough to get an artist to release 2 songs at the same time, much less 2 albums at the same time. How in the world did you find the time to even make this a project for yourself?
I already told you I've been a big nerd a really long time, and I was patterning myself after the prolific artists of our time, like the Stevies and the Paul McCartneys and the Princes, so I didn't know any. Like I said, if that's my jumping off point, and they're writing every day and having it be, and I want to be like that. Trying to be like them. I'm just modeling them. So I'm writing every day. I've got, Prince has his vault. I've got a lot of stuff. Whether it's good or not, that's not my business. My business is that I have created it, and some of it I can tell deserves to live somewhere. So
is there a target date for the double album? I know we hate getting questions like that because
no,
I don't know,
no.
but like, what are we?
As an indie artist, I guess what I'm saying, if I had a different kind of structure, it would be a lot easier. But the reality is, I'm an indie artist, so I do things as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the thing about the double album is I had all of this stuff. I had so many tunes, and again, as an artist and patterning after old school artists, and that's what I grew up listening to, and I loved opening up vinyl that had 2 discs in it. Those were my favorite things. So I was like, I could do that. I always wanted to aspire to do it. So now I've got this music, and of course we don't have that anymore. But if I'm making my own art and there's nobody to tell me I can't do it, and I can figure it out, and vinyl is beautiful again, why not? So I know that's not how we listen to music. The actual artistic package was blurted out that way. How I'm releasing it, of course, I'm releasing it as singles, and I'm doing one disc at a time. So the first one is called Love Life. The second one is called It's Complicated. And at some point, once they're both released, then I will do a deluxe thing where I will actually have my vision and my dream, because I can. Why not?
Because I can, why not? I'm starting to understand why all of these, top shelf artists want to work with you and have such a good time. You are a damn ray of sunshine.
I appreciate that.
Katie and I just have permanent smiles on our faces just by having you in this room virtually with us. This has been such a treat, Nikki.
That means a lot. Thank you for that.
Oh my God. And since you're allowed to do whatever you want, you don't have to worry about some record executive like managing your day to day.
I'm the record executive.
Exactly. So please make us part of like your regular day to day. Don't be a stranger. Come back on a lot so we can keep hearing from you. I'm sure you have so many amazing stories to tell, and we didn't really get to scratch the surface with them, but this has been awesome. We encourage our viewers and listeners, check out NikkiRichards.com. Keep up on what she's doing, because it's going to be great. Now, Nikki, before we let you go, we got one last question for you. And given everything that you've done in the industry, I feel like you'd have some great perspective here. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Wow. Yeah. A little bit of what we've been saying is like try to focus on the places where you're having fun. Focus on what your strengths are. Lean into them. Of course, there's stuff we have to do that we don't want to do. It's like, cleaning your house. You don't want to scrub the tub out. It has to be done. So figure out how to do it. Enjoy the stuff that you dig, and keep networking. Keep connecting with people. Find your joy in it. Find your joy.
Coming this summer, everybody, it's going to be Nikki Richards, Katie Zaccardi, and Ryan Kairalla on Broadway in Chicago. We're going to blow the doors off the place. It's going to be... Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Top to bottom, that show absolutely slaps, and the songs are incredible.
What's stopping us from doing a virtual production?
I mean, copyright law, and I haven't had nearly enough drinks. I'm at least 2.5 drinks away if you want me to sing like, Billy Flynn on the air right now. I'm not nearly plastered enough for that. Okay, so I do want to say our thanks to Nikki Richards and Katie Zaccardi and producer Lauren for making this show possible. And we're going to close this week with a video that producer Lauren put together of our time at Miami Music Tech. It was awesome. We learned a lot, and it was pretty interesting to hear basically everybody who we spoke to at the conference kind of being of one mind on what is the biggest technological challenge that indie entertainers are facing right now. It's going to be awesome. Go ahead, producer Lauren, play that video to close us out. Thank you all for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.
I were honored to attend the Miami Music Tech Summit, a one-day conference bringing together the best and brightest in the music technology community for learning, high-level discussions, deal-making, and fostering connections in the music tech community. While we were there, we met with some of these innovators and got their take on important issues and advice for creators.
What do you think are some of the most important music tech issues affecting indie creators right now?
Yeah, I mean, especially for indie creators, I think relying on social media is something that right now, the way the industry is kind of a non-negotiable, and social media has a lot of power, and so it's really difficult to rely on those algorithms to get connected with the audience, even with the people that are already following you, but the discovery is difficult as well. You have to kind of like fingers crossed that you're going to go viral, and they tell you to post consistently and do all of this, and it could come with zero results. And so, I think it's a little bit hard to navigate, and sometimes it is just about getting lucky.
I think there is plenty, but in the music industry, we're facing a very threatening moment with AI. Artists doesn't know if it's really an ally or an enemy.
The most important issue by far is how do you get the artist paid? I mean, they build this huge fan base, and there's so many intermediaries, and everybody they come at it without any real backing, so they have to sign their rights away. So it's like musicians keeping their rights is something I've always advocated for. Now, however, some people are offering musicians so much money for their rights that sometimes you just got to let them do that. But it's a very hard balance because it's all about how the musicians can directly connect with their fans, and then the fans can support them.
Top of mind, I would definitely say AI, just because it's so new right now, and all the legalities behind it, the authenticities of the artist's work is also, very important within that as well. So I would say that's like the biggest one right now, just AI.
The obvious answer is AI. I think the uncertainty behind AI is definitely getting a lot of people curious as to what happens next and the regulations that are going to come with it. I think once those things get ironed out, it will definitely put everybody at ease, and we can start figuring out how to really capitalize off of it.
I think the big cloud of uncertainty right now that you've probably heard a lot today is AI, specifically how AI is going to affect the monetization of catalogs and back catalogs and so on and so forth. I don't have an answer for you as to how that's going to happen, but I think it's a looming question that everyone should be aware of in the industry.
In terms of concerning, I believe there is a bunch of AI things coming up, so understanding what really matters, understanding what can help, and understanding what cannot is the biggest concern right now in every single aspect of it, from legal to the production level up to the musicians. Is like there's a lot of things that can be helpful, but a lot of things are also being a trouble, a problem, a lot of copyright issues and things like that. So we need to figure out this. I mean, as an industry. As an industry.
Do you have any tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yeah. Musicians, right? So, first thing is they need to really love what they are doing and embrace music, understand the new landscape of entertainment and everything that's happening in technology level, in the industry, in this whole social media revolution, how position themselves in a better way that will be extremely beneficial for his own brands. Branding is very important nowadays. So they need to be leveraging everything that they can in order to create their own brands.
I think more than anything, the most important thing is to be authentic.
Be original and be consistent on the digital platforms and digital world, social media and the DSPs, and very important for you if you want to have a sustainable career nowadays.
Well, I mean, own your platform and go as direct as you can. I mean, whether it's, Instagram or TikTok, I mean, you can't always monetize it, but if you can build your fan base, they will want to support you.
Stay true to your sound. Don't try to sound popular or just what everybody else is doing. The right fans will follow your work. You don't have to adapt to what other people are doing. Stay true to what you know.
I'd say explore all the possibilities, right? Maybe sound royalties is right for you, maybe it isn't, maybe a major label deal is right for you, maybe it isn't, but explore the possibilities. You want to be educated and know what's out there as far as opportunities for you so that you can take advantage of the right ones for your career.
I think it's really important to connect directly with your fans. I think creating music is part of a conversation that has to be two ways, and it has to be between the fan and the artist. The true connection between fan and artist is going to drive your career forward.
We don't need to build a better future for the copyright aggregators. We don't need to build a better future for the major labels. We need to build more enjoyable experiences where the fans and creators connect.
I want to say how grateful I am for Brian and Shoshana for inviting us to the conference and getting to meet all of you. As Brian said, apparently we're doing the Lord's work because our program is all about empowering and informing independent creators in the entertainment industry.